was a surprise to the museum in March that the street was going to be made one way for the last 60 feet. So, we really feel that this would be an inconvenience for the museum, and also it would cause more of a safety concern in our respect for those individuals who would be coming to the museum from South Gilbert, coming up South Gilbert and making that left-hand turn across all the traffic, plus all the increased traffic, when we have found out through Carl that their entrance, exit on Robinson Street will not be aligned up with Lafayette. It's actually going to be offset from it. So traffic will not be going straight, either from Lafayette Street to get into their parking lot or from their parking lot to get out. They have to go out Robinson. So this is what we're looking at. We figured that, at the end, before it would go to City Council for approval, it would have to come through this committee to look at. So we didn't know if there was any questions about this or anything of that sort, because, we were kind of mystified when we were informed it was going to be one way.
And have you had your meeting?
No, our meeting's Friday. Yeah, Sam and the mayor set it up for Friday of this week with IDOT and Carl, because Carl has told us they don't care if our street is one way or two way. It doesn't affect them any, since they offset their parking lot entrance. Previously, IDOT had recommended that Harrison Street and Lafayette be dead-ended on their initial report, and said that if it was to be dead-ended, that it would be up to Carl to ask us if, we could work with that. But then Carl said there was no need to dead-end the street. So they left the street open because they had promised us ingress and egress down Robinson Street for the museum, which also would affect the bank, because people do come in Robinson Street and come northward on Robinson and over Lafayette to pull into the major part of the bank or to go through the drive-through, because it is hard to make the left-hand turn off of Gilbert Street.
You mean the Midwest Credit Union?
First Midwest
Yeah.
Bank, yeah. Mhm.
Oh, the bank, not the credit union.
Yeah, the bank, not the
Down that
credit
area.
union.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
thank you.
And I didn't know, Mayor, do you have anything, or?
A couple of things. Mrs. Richter, they promised you that there would be egress and ingress from Robinson Street. My understanding was that you all had worked out an agreement that there would be through
No,
passage for buses.
no, it was both, because that was the only reason the museum agreed to close Robinson Street behind us. If not, we never would have allowed it, because Robinson Street would be our only other from the north, would have been our only other way for people to get to the museum. And I brought our current board president and our past board president with me, who have both worked from the beginning with this. And that is one thing that was presented to our board at the very beginning with the first meeting we had with Carl. We would have ingress and egress for the museum off Robinson Street.
And you have pretty good notes on different meetings and things.
Yes, I have all the notes we took I have what the meetings were about, and then they're in our board reports, because then we would report to the board. At first, through the beginning, it was first to close off, they wanted to close Robinson Street all the way to north. And we said, no way. So then we worked with them to close it just at the edge of the museum on the west side, with an easement for us to be able to access the west and north side of our building, which we have to be able to do for fire purposes and because of our tower.
Mrs. Richter, you are able to do that under the current plan, correct?
Right, under the plat. Yeah, the plat that was approved in April, we have that easement on there that we can access Robinson Street.
But there was nothing on that plat closing Lafayette or making Lafayette one way.
No,
That plat, I believe, had it as Lafayette as a hammerhead, did it not?
no, not on the plat that this board approved. I have a copy of it. Carl emailed it to me on 3/10, and you voted for it at the beginning of April.
I think the plat just had a note that said intersection improvements should be in accordance with city engineer requirements or something to that effect. I don't remember the exact wording, but we didn't have the specific details of that intersection worked out at that point. Just we knew that there was going to be something going on there that was likely.
Yeah.
We weren't exactly sure what the layout.
Chairman, I would just add that for me, it matters not either way. I mean, I would be happy to leave it open both ways too, but we have to have IDOT's permission. Anything that goes on to, earlier, I remember, Mrs. Richter, you said, oh, well, these are your streets, so you have total control. Unfortunately, we don't, because they open out onto a state highway. So anything that goes into a state highway, they have to have say on traffic volume. And that's why we set the meeting, so that we could discuss this matter
Right.
with them.
Because we have looked into the tally counts from their survey that they did that was presented in January of 2020. And so basically going from their impact, they never even clocked Lafayette Street. It wasn't even one of the streets the counts were taken for. So there was, I think, on an average, 950 cars a day on Robinson Street at that time, because people would cut down Robinson Street to North Street rather than take Gilbert. Well, that's closed off now. So, and from the impact numbers that they gave in the report for leaving Carl is not even the 900 and some reported that normally came down per day down Robinson Street. It isn't even that high. It's 290. So, and that's why Carl said it was not, their entrance and exit there was not going to impact Lafayette Street at all. Plus offsetting it, we went out and talked to the contractor working the other day, and he says, you can't say that people aren't going to try and go straight. But he said in order to do so, they're going to be jumping 2 curbs because of the way it's set up. So, and I think that's true on any street.
Mhm. And then to her question about if we didn't approve making that a one-way, do we have to vote on that again? Do we have to vote on that to make that street a one-way?
I don't know that that's a tricky way of looking at it. We have our traffic schedule and ordinances that indicates where stop signs will be and yield signs. It also indicates one-way streets. This is, in particular, it's just blocking traffic from entering Lafayette from the west. So aside from the little median at the end, Lafayette is two-way. So I don't know that you draft an ordinance that says the 60 feet here is designated as one way to block, such and such. That was not necessarily our intent to go forward that way. That wasn't something that we considered because it's such a isolated location.
So we really won't know anything until after the meeting with IDOT on
Right.
Friday.
Yeah.
As far as how it may be, a
Yeah.
mute issue because it may remain as is.
Right. But we did want to,
Right.
let the council know ahead, that, we will be meeting, and then, we'll wait to see what their final decision will be. But it would really curtail the museum and with our operation to have it that way. Normally in February, which is our Lincoln birthday open house, you're talking about at that time, the museum putting close to 400 visitors, say 2 people to car, 200 streets from Lafayette Street to Gilbert Street within a 3-hour period, because that's our open house numbers. And that's a lot of people to have to put out onto Gilbert Street if that's the only, chance for them to come in and out. That's a lot of people coming in off of Gilbert Street to Lafayette Street. Leaving would be no problem because some could leave down Robinson. But coming in and dropping children off, that would really get hard to do. Because if they drop them off for the program, then they'd have to go south on Robinson Street and go around the block and try and come back in again because of the one-way street.
Mrs. Richter, isn't it true that most people, when you have large events parked across the street in the extra First Midwest lot, so that a lot of folks that are coming for these types of events would have to park in a place that's not directly adjacent to the museum anyways, because you only have, I think, 12 or
20.
parking
We count
spaces
it, we
there.
could get 20 in. Mhm. Well, and we can park to the north too, because we can use the lot at Automobile Diagnostics. We have free use of that lot, so they park there. And then they park at the bank lot, and they park at the gravel lot that you mentioned, and they park at the north end of Big Lots. So, yeah. Okay.
Any questions for Mrs. Richter? Well,
I
like
I
I
know
said,
you have a
we'll-
busy schedule. Thank you very much.
Sue.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Richter.
Any other comments?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, there aren't any more comments, Chairman.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, item number 5, chairman's comments. I have none at this time. Moving on to item number 6, approval of the payrolls. Those would be for the October 8th, 21. Need a motion to put that on the table, please?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Brown,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Pertel, Pashard,
Yes.
Wands,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Poor,
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes, thank you. Item number 7 is the approval of the vouchers payable. Those are for October 12th, 21. Need a motion to put that on the table, please?
So moved. Second.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Iverson,
Yes.
Pertel, Pashard,
Yes.
Wands,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Poor,
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes, thank you. Moving on to item number 8, be finance, Comptroller Massey. We have 8A is a resolution approving a utility billing printer maintenance contract. Need a motion to put that on the table, please?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Comptroller Massey, anything we need to know?
It was on. This is just a maintenance contract for, thanks. Sorry, this is just a maintenance contract for the printer we acquired to do our utility billing, so to be able to print our invoices for sewer, garbage, public safety pension fee that goes out every month. This is just a maintenance contract with DTI, so they will, if we have any issues, we can put in a call, they'll send a tech right over. They provide the toner for the printers and things like that. So it's a 5-year maintenance contract. We have these pretty standard on our equipment here at the city, but since it went beyond 1 year, I wanted to bring it to the committee and then council.
Any questions for the comptroller? Alderman, or
Cost.
539, I think.
535.75, Mike.
Yep,
That's a
535.75.
monthly cut. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm still real curious to see what these new bills are gonna look like. Hopefully they're not like the ones we're leaving.
They're postcard size bill, if I understand
Probably
correctly.
back to the original type we had
Yep.
way back when.
We did a cost analysis on the different types of invoices, and it was over $30,000 a year between a postcard and trifold envelope. The city has already put in a purchase order for it's called My Civic app through our Tyler vendor. It's something that individuals will be able to have on their phone, and they'll get announcements from the city. We plan to start launching that process first quarter 2022. Once we go live with our utility bills, that will address some of those concerns, Alderman O'Kane, that you brought up about getting information in citizens' hands and notifications from the city. Obviously, we got a new city website, and they'll be able to have an online portal where they can go on, pay online, track their bills, see billing history. So we have a few things in the works to keep citizens informed of their bills.
If it's not a piece of paper that they read or not on their phone, I'm afraid they're not gonna see it, but we'll see what happens.
But we're making that service a bit available to the
Well-
citizens. It's up to them if they want to use it, I guess.
I deal with people that have a hard time paying bills all the time, and they have a hard time keeping up with things. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Pashard,
Yes.
Wands,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Pertel, Poor,
Yes,
6 yes.
6 yes, thank you. Items of information. Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Moving on to item number 9, yes.
I apologize. just so you'll know, we will be sending out information tomorrow on the process for finance. They're going to have to redo the counter and such. So just be looking forward tomorrow afternoon sometime for an email from Ashlyn updating all that
Okay.
process.
Okay, moving on to item number 9, you'll see fire. Chief McMaster's called me last week to see if we could put this on the Public Works agenda before it goes to full council because it's time sensitive. So it's a 9A is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the fiscal year 2021-2022 Fire Division 022 budget. Need a motion to put that on the table?
So move.
Second.
Chief?
Okay, this is time sensitive after talking to Agnell, because one of the portions that is getting this are iPads, and based on the whole chip shortage as well as the holidays coming up and everything else, Agnell said if we didn't want to be waiting on them for forever, we needed to get the iPads ordered at ASAP. So that's why we pushed this to now as opposed to waiting for Public Services Committee meeting. You have already, in last year's budget, you give me approval to purchase the new Tyler software system, as well as all the hardware that needed to go with it. All of the hardware that this is referencing to is all of the equipment is going to be inside the vehicles of all of our responding apparatus. The original bid that we had from the company, which is number 1 in your pile, and your big pile of stuff, I apologize. Number 1 was the original PO that was written, and number 2 was the original bid from CDS Office Technologies for $52,420. In the long drawn out process of making all this stuff work and putting everything together, we found out in lesser expensive ways that we can utilize this program that would allow us to use, for instance, iPads at a considerably cheaper cost than the tough books that we were going to use before, as well as we got some assistance outside of this with the programming, the expenses of extra programming from the county that's going to pay the bill for it. So with that, we determined that we could get a considerably cheaper equipment to utilize with the trucks rather than the laptops that we were going to buy from CDS. But to be able to do that, we had to go through different entities to get the lesser expensive stuff. So the actual resolutions, in my mind, is confusing, but I was told that's how I had to do it. It looks like you're actually giving me more money for this because we're actually making a line item adjustment to increase my line item by $25,151.83. But what's not showing here, the original $52,420 that was going to be sent to CDS for everything. Instead, CDS is we're only going to purchase $5,304 worth of equipment from CDS. And after we've spent that money from CDS then we will close out that PO, and the rest of that money of that $52,000 will actually get dumped back into the general fund as leftover. So when it's said and done, to make the numbers make sense to you, when it's said and done, instead of the $52,420 being spent, we're actually going to spend the total on the resolution, which is $30,455.83. So that's going to have $21,964.17 going back into the general fund from this equipment. Again, we found out that there is a lesser, as far as how electronics work, there's a different type of program that we could utilize, and it's also, not only does this benefit the city fire department, but it benefits every department in the county as well. So we got the county on board to pay the extra expense to the effect of about $17,000 for this other programming. So then it makes it worthwhile for all of us to utilize this, just the city of Danville, and they're paying the expense for that and the continuing maintenance costs that go with that themselves. And with that, we were able to get ourselves the cheaper equipment, as well as these smaller volunteer departments that have very limited budgets. They can also utilize considerably lesser expensive equipment as well to utilize the same program we are. So that's what this all attains to. It looks like you're giving me more money, but in reality, said and done, there's going to be almost $22,000 going back into the general fund.
Questions for the chief? Nice explanation and nice having some savings.
And nice working with the other fire departments too.
Yes,
I think
yeah.
that's a big plus.
Okay, with no more discussion, roll call, please.
Alderman Wands,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Patel, Bouchard,
Yes.
Four,
Yes,
6 yes.
6 yes, thank you. Item number 10, Public Transportation, Director Beast, we have items of information and your monthly report.
Can you hear me?
Here we are.
Yes.
That's good.
Good. So the only thing I want to report is, as you can see, the ridership at 29,000 is only, I hate to say this, but it's only down 25% from last year. And, you know, we're in the middle of a service reduction right now, and I'll talk about that in a minute. We had our last vaccination clinic today, and we had 2 more people vaccinated, and doesn't seem like a lot, but the health department, or the Illinois Health Department, is always ecstatic about anybody getting their vaccination. And then the reduction in service on July 28th, we reduced service 9%. And now we've had to make a service reduction of about 20% because we're short 8 drivers and 1 dispatcher. So staff is dispatching, driving, and we have work to do too. So we had to make some service reductions. But as you've seen in the paper, there's a lot of transit agencies that are doing the same thing. So we're not the Lone Rangers here. But if you have any questions about the service reductions, we do have, Aaron got those posted online for us, and we have some hard copies if you're interested.
Any questions for Director Beast? Anyone in the labor pool that has applied for those 8 positions?
We have some applicants from Indeed, but by the time we screen them well, some of them don't even live in the area, so they're off the table. And some don't have the experience that we need. You know, our insurance company wants us to have drivers that have some experience, and that's sometimes hard to find. So we have a couple of people. We have a gentleman that today we got all his particulars finished up so he can start training. And another gentleman that's interested, but he had some concerns about, some of these folks are leaving jobs where they're making more money because they're not happy where they are. So, you know, they want to make sure that where they're coming to is going to be worth that pay cut. So we have a couple, yes.
Questions?
Well, do we have any kind of training for the people coming on, or is it mainly we just need those that are already qualified to do the job?
No, we train we'll take anybody. The qualifications are mostly someone that has driving experience, like in a car. That we've had people come in before that, you know, if they come from the city, they've taken public transportation all their life and they have no driving experience. But we do train someone who can come in and you know, work well with people. But so we do have a training program to train them to get their CDL.
How long is your training program on that?
Well, that depends. You know, if someone comes in and they're already properly licensed, they could probably be out on the road maybe 3 weeks or so. But if we have to get them trained to go down and get their CDL, then it's more like 4 or 5 weeks.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Director. Okay, moving on to item number 11, Public Works Director Carpenter. 11A is a resolution approving a reimbursement of expenses for abandonment of a sanitary sewer at the Lake Vermillion Dam and amending the fiscal year 2021-2022 Fund 402 budget. Need a motion to put that on the table, please?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Director? Where's
I'll let Sam.
So this is I guess not a consequence / benefit, I guess, of the Northwest Sanitary Sewer Project. The pump station that's in Chateau Estates currently, well, previously discharged to a sewer that flowed across the dam and was connected to the dam. Aqua expressed desires, many years back to get this off of the dam. I think, just from a dam safety standpoint and a liability standpoint. And the city desires to get rid of it as well. It helps us eliminate quite a bit of sewer that is a source of excess water that we don't want in a system. So, anyway, we're basically Aqua is going to administer the project. We will reimburse them for the work because we don't really want the liability of doing the work on their dam, if that makes sense. So.
Darn good reason. Questions for engineer? Okay. Roll call, please.
Vice Chairman O'Kane,
Yes.
Alderman Brown,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Patel, Pashard,
Yes.
Wands.
Yes.
Hoare,
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes, thank you. 11B is a resolution accepting a proposal for paving a portion of Winter Avenue. Need a motion to put that on the table?
So move.
Second.
Okay, well, I think the resolution spells it out a little bit. There's a portion of Winter Avenue, roughly from the east leg of the triangle at Winter and Denmark Road to the intersection of Winter and Gilbert that was not part of the Denmark Road project. In doing the work there, it's become apparent that we're going to get a better end product if we go ahead and mill and overlay that section of roadway, just make everything drain properly, make sure that we don't have kind of some funky grade transitions out in the middle of the road to the new curb and gutter. We're asking basically to waive the typical bid process for this because the project overall was bid, competitively bid. We got very good pricing because of the scale of the project and the contractor's willing to perform that work at this price. What we can't do, which was our preference, was add it to the contract of the existing project, but that's because that's administered through the state. They're not, and this is just only private work. Or not by private, but local agency work. They're not willing to do that. So,
Questions?
I'm just snickering because I saw the sidewalks and stuff that went down that area.
you could see it coming, huh, Mike?
Are they going to finish that one little corner?
No, we're going to leave it like that.
No, but I mean,
No,
is that
yeah.
Is that because of the utility pole? Is that?
And at that corner, I don't believe it is, but there are many spots where there's little panels missing because we're waiting on utility relocations. Yeah. So that would be a good story, though, wouldn't it? We paved that block, but we just forget to put the curb ramp in. Oh man.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Brown,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Patel, Pashard,
Yes.
Wands.
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Hoare,
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes, thank you. 11C is a resolution approving a 1-year extension of environmental code enforcement software license agreement. Need a motion to put that on the table?
So move.
Second.
Okay. And who wants to take that?
I'll take it.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the legal department's code enforcement and public works inspectors, building, mechanical, plumbing. This is our software program to intake the code enforcement write-ups, issue citations, and building permits. And the reason it's only a 1 year, not a 3 year, not a 5 year, is we're exploring for other options at this point.
Questions for?
Well, so you'll go back in a year and will it be for 1 year again, or how is that?
If we do not find a satisfactory software company to replace this, then likely extend it out to 1 more year. There's some problem areas with this program that I think everybody can attest to within the city. So we're going to explore other options. It doesn't appear that it'll be cost effective, I do believe, in the long term to explore other options.
Other questions? Vice Chairman O'Kane.
So we're working to get everything so our contractors and stuff can do everything online somewhat.
That's
and
yeah.
We're struggling to do that right now.
That's the idea. Our current software doesn't does not have the capability to easily put it online. Right now, our website supports it, but that's in-house. Our new website just designed. What we are exploring is all online. I'll work with city comptroller to get online payment as well, hopefully. And it's pointing in that direction.
I know contractors they don't always show up when you want them to.
We struggle with that, yeah.
I don't know about y'all, even locally, it'd be nice not to have to drive over to do, to get a permit for something. So you can just pay everything online, print it out, stick it in your window. It'd be easier for our residents and our business people. So
Just like all the stamps and envelopes you save.
Sure.
it's true.
Yeah,
Mhm.
costly.
Questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Iverson?
Yes.
Hertel, Bouchard,
Yes.
Wands?
Yes.
O'Kane?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes, thank you. 11D is a resolution approving an application for a Section 319 grant funds for steam bank stabilization within the stream bank stabilization within the Lake Vermillion watershed. Need a motion to put that on the table.
So move.
Second.
Questions? Anybody want to?
You want an explanation? Yeah. So a little while back, so fairly regularly, I'm guessing every 5 years or so, the Lake Vermillion Water Quality Coalition, in conjunction with the Vermillion County Soil and Water Conservation District, updates this watershed management plan for the lake. And that plan helps them seek funding for certain improvements within the watershed. And that watershed is very large. I think it's like 200 some square miles. I can't remember the exact numbers. Probably says in this document that I gave you. Anyway, they reached out to us and asked if we had areas of concern that they should look at and we could include in the plan. We identified, basically, we looked back at the stormwater master plan that was done. We've also have some areas of erosion concern around some sanitary sewers. The key is they have to be tributary to Lake Vermillion or upstream of that. So there are areas that are downstream of that we know are issues, but we particularly looked at ravines in and around lake shores and then around the Thornhill Drive area because we're experiencing significant issues there. The one that was identified as the most cost effective to go after funding was the Thornhill Drive one, and provided kind of the greatest cost benefit to the lake as far as removing erosion and sediment from the lake. I can't remember the exact number, but it was pretty impressive, the amount of estimated sediment loading going from erosion in that bank. This is a shot in the dark, but I'm thinking it was like 60 tons per year, or something like that. And if you think about that, that's like, 5 tandem loads of dirt, type thing. So they will administer the project. They're going to apply funds. We're just providing match. So we're providing a 40% match for the project. And frankly, it saves us a huge burden on the engineering side for administering the project too. So we thought that was a pretty good deal and are grateful for them reaching out to us.
Questions for Engineer Cole? Vice Chairman O'Kane.
Are we just bidding on 64,000 or is this just the start of it?
Well, I mean, no, the 64,000 is our match. I think the overall grant they're applying for is 400 some thousand. And that includes funds from Aqua, Illinois, as well as the city of Danville. And I believe a few other little private entities as well. So that's our portion. Obviously that's an estimate at this point, but we feel like it was conservative. So it should be,
But you're not going to come back for the other 130 or whatever.
I hope not. I can't promise you anything. I don't know what prices are going to be, but no, based on our current scope, the thing to remember, we haven't done final design on this. This is like kind of planning level. We think we got plenty of budget in there. I don't know. I like I said, I can't guarantee you that, but I don't think that'll happen.
That's all I got.
Anybody else? Okay, roll call, please.
Yeah.
Alderman Bouchard?
Yes.
Wands?
Yes.
O'Kane?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Iverson?
Yes.
Hertel? Ford?
Yes.
6 yes.
6 yes, thank you. Any items of information? Any items of information?
Director.
Anybody? Director, any items of information?
If you want to take those now, I think you guys, I hope you all saw the 2 emails I sent today of the damage to the parks bathrooms over the past weekend. The one at Garfield Park was literally somebody sticking a metal can inside there and probably stuffing it full of toilet paper and other objects and just burned it. We have to call in another company to actually clean that, and then we're going to have to actually paint that and repair other things. The other one, excuse me, is a little bit more disturbing that happened at the Ambucks Park, because by the time the gentleman got there at 7 o'clock in the evening to lock that up, is the damage had been done. And it wasn't done like that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when it had been checked. And as I told Alderman Wands, because my granddaughter made me aware of it, the damage you saw mimics the stuff that's going on this tickety talk thing or whatever it's called right now. And it literally mirrored that. What she showed me was busted toilet seats, kicked in doors, and all the amenities ripped off the wall. And the picture I saw and sent to you folks was identical to what she showed me, that children are encouraged to go around and do by this, whatever this thing is, it's on your cell phone. So I just want the council to be aware, the community to be aware that this is just the most disgusting, unacceptable thing. This is worse than putting graffiti on a wall. We can paint graffiti. This is actual damage that's going to cost every taxpayer in this city a considerable amount of money if it doesn't stop soon. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Director.
Were there any cameras or anything that you could?
No,
see anybody doing?
no, we don't have any cameras in those areas that you're going to be able to see. There's none in the bathrooms. They would rip them off the wall.
Yeah,
You can be assured of that. It's just a very unfortunate thing. And we've all seen minor damage over the years. You know, it used to be kids just stuffed the toilets full of toilet paper and flooded the thing. It's a lot easier to take care of than what we're seeing right now. So I just want everybody to be aware of it.
If you hear of anyone, hear of kids or young people or older folks for that matter, bragging about it or anything like that, please just go ahead, right on ahead and call the police.
And I do want you to be aware, we are going to start locking them up about 3 o'clock every afternoon now. We just can't put up with that, having to face that every evening or every week. Every time we get it fixed, I'm doing it again. Okay?
All righty.
Has it happened more than this lately? Or is it
No,
just
not this manner of damage, no.
I've heard of other towns starting to, and I don't like the idea specifically because you're invading on people's rights. They're starting to put cameras up specifically to do license plates, so they know who's been where. And do you want to take rights away from people, or do you want to protect things? You know, it's just a thought.
It's interesting that you bring that up. I believe Chief Yates, I know Chief Yates is working on something to bring to you all later this month at Public Services along those lines. Bless you, sir.
Okay. All righty. Moving on to item number 12. Items for discussion. 12A is an ordinance amending employees' residency requirements.
Chairman, I'll take that.
All righty.
What we've done here is we changed the Corporation Counsel. Simon updated this to the as amended ordinance that we'll be considering next week in full council. So I guess at this time, it says we would extend the residency up to 45 miles for non-union personnel, and that they would not pay they would not have to pay any kind of fee in order to live in that area, in that mile range. As I'll reiterate to you again, I feel like if your money is good enough for us, you ought to live here. But at the same time, we don't live in an ideal world, and we're also, we have freedoms. As Director Carpenter has said, if a person can get here and report to work and do their job well in a timely manner, That's the most important thing. The reason why we looked at 45 miles again was just because we believe that they ought to be able to get here within an hour if they live within 45 miles of the city of Danville. So if there is some kind of emergency, 4-alarm fire, if we have a really bad sewer break or an ice storm or snowstorm coming in, that we would be able to respond to it still in a reasonable manner. So I don't love this, but I do think it's best for the city. As Vice Chairman Pickering mentioned before, if you look at our numbers of applicants in police and fire and everything else, they're way down. You look at our attendance at our job fairs for public works, Alderman Pickering, where they were, I mean, like 20% of what they used to be before, So I think a shorter term strategy is to expand our pool of qualified applicants. And my hope is that we continue to work hard together and make Danville a place that people choose to live, so that within 5 years, people will not even want to live 45 miles away. They'll say, this is where I want to be, and it won't be as much of an issue. But for now, I think we have to do everything that we can to get the most qualified applicants. As Director Beath said, if those people don't live here, but they're serving our people, we want the best people serving our people. So I don't love this, but I think that it's when we're competing with places that don't have any kind of residency requirement or they don't charge any kind of fee, and they also have options we cannot provide, such as working from home. I think this is just one small step that we could do to make ourselves a little bit more competitive and ensure that we get some of the best applicants possible. As a reminder, this does not include dependents. They would still have to live within the 5-mile radius.
This is only for the non-contracted people, or
For non-union personnel. Our clerk Monson was kind enough to put together the residency requirements for me of what we have now, and it varies greatly from union to union, but I can answer any questions about any of those. We are in the midst of negotiating 4 of those right now, and I can tell you, and Corporation Counsel, who's been in most of those with me, can tell you that everyone has balked at the fee and wanted to get rid of it, and everyone has said, we hope that we can have a bigger mileage so that we can get more people in here to work with us.
I often wonder how to do the opposite and maybe give them an incentive to be in town. What do you call that fund that helps? They can buy stuff at the prescription shops and stuff, or something else that if they're in town, they get a little stipend or something like that. What are other towns, Normal, Bloomington, what are they doing as far as
Many other towns these days, unfortunately, have no residency requirement whatsoever. There are some that have various mileages.
Similar size and whatever. We're, Champaign, Urbana's 2 cities together, Bloomington, Normal's 2 cities together, but there's surely some Quincy and places like that don't have another moderately sized town close to them. You have any idea what they're doing as far as?
It varies. I don't know Quincy specifically, but I mean, the things that we've looked at, they vary greatly from no requirement to
still restricting people to work in their town.
And yes, and if they do, most of them are like 50 miles, 25 to 50 miles. Alderman Teague, did you have some information on that you wanted to share?
I looked up Champaign earlier today. There said you had 60 days to move. From what I saw, I don't know if it's current, but that's what I saw. I guess one of the questions that I have is, could you share some of the research that you've done so that we can have that before we vote next week?
You're saying a comparison of other cities and their residency requirements?
Yes.
I'd be glad to.
Thank you.
And money-wise, you're comfortable with what we pay in comparison, that money isn't a big stipend to keep people away. We're paying comparable enough that it's not the money that's keeping people away.
Well, I could tell you in a couple of areas. For example, Sam has looked kind of at our engineering, and our prices, our offerings are reasonable there. Our offerings with laborers are there. Our police and fire, comparatively, they're close within 5% or so. So I don't believe that I don't believe we're underselling ourselves in terms of not offering enough money. I think that it's just tougher to get employees now because they have so many options.
Mayor, in the past, not recently, but like I said, in the past, there's been people that are not residents of Danville, but they work here and they choose not to be here because a lot of them don't want their children in the public schools. And I don't know if this has a lot to do with anybody that's, wanting to employ but won't because they're farmers or whatever, like you said. But I know, like I said in the past, I think I could say probably a lot of it, which is sad. You're going to work here and get the money in Danville, but and you have a right to send your children to school where you want to send them to school. But I think it's that, and the reason is, and I hate to say this, but it's the truth. From what I've gathered in the past is that a lot of them don't want their children going to school with Black children, and they've said it to me, and I know. And they know that the majority of our Black children in Danville go to public schools. Very few go to private schools. So that's their reason. They have a right to send their children where they want. But it's all not about money, and it's all not about, it's still race relations in this community and in this county.
I think that I'm sure, sadly, that there are still people for whom that's the case. I would say, at least the people that I know of, that's definitely not the case. I can tell you, though, when I hear people talk about why they don't want to live in Danville, these are the reasons they give: public safety, quality of life in terms of things to do, blight and infrastructure issues, and schools. Those are all the 4 reasons why people say, I can tell you for sure the last part is one that I know even some of my own family members for whom race certainly isn't an issue. That's one of the problems they have is the schools. It's not, they go to school with all kinds of kids right now, but unfortunately our schools are struggling just like we are in the city and just like many other things are,
Mayor, when we moved to Danville, we were looking in all the smaller towns outside Oakwood, those areas. But our daughter wanted to go to Danville High, or to Danville school system. She wasn't in high school yet because she felt like they had more to offer. But let's be honest about it. A lot of parents want to live in a smaller outside area town so their kids can be somebody in a smaller pool. They've got a better chance of being a basketball star, their daughter a cheerleader or whatever. And that happens also. I mean, I know that for a fact. But I think we have an excellent school system. I really do. My daughter, for an example, she came to Danville through Ridge School, and then she went through Danville High School. She excelled in Danville High, went on to get a very good education at DeVry, and she owes it all to the Danville school system.
The bottom line, unfortunately, is I don't know everyone's reason why they may or may not want to live here, but I know that right now our pool of eligible applicants has shrunk greatly because of the population that we lost in the county and in the city, unfortunately. So now we're trying to recruit, the same amount or more personnel from a smaller pool of people. So that's why I am reluctantly lobbying for expanding that pool of eligible folks because, we need people, and we don't want just a warm body. I think Director Beef may have sent something to you all. And, just about making sure that we have not just bodies, but quality people that really want to be here and want to serve in whatever role it is. So, but your point is well taken. I think we would be, remiss to say that for some people it's race, but I think a lot more of it is like Alderman Pritchard said, for example, I have friends who have kids who play in the county schools and I love them dearly and I go to their games sometimes. And they could not compete on the court at Danville, they couldn't compete on the court at Shalarman. They just couldn't, so I know that that's probably one of the biggest reasons I've heard for the failure to consolidate school districts, because we have school districts in Illinois that have 100 or less students. Now, it doesn't make sense to have a whole school district for 100 students, yet we do. And so we have all these super inflated administrative costs. And, part of the reason people say is they don't want their school to go away. They don't want their identity to go away. I understand that. Some places, the only thing that they have is a school. But the bottom line is we are faced with a dwindling population from which to choose, and we have important roles to fill with the city.
Corporation Council.
A real quick and dirty research project here. Normal has no residency, Urbana has no residency requirement. Normal has a 20-mile residency requirement. Bloomington has a 50-mile residency requirement. Springfield has no residency requirement, but is considering it, but it's expected to fail, but who knows? And Decatur has none. I tried to find Quincy, but I couldn't find any. That doesn't mean that they don't, because I just real quickly went through a bunch of towns.
Does Muhammad make 45 from Danville?
It goes a little past Muhammad. Yes, sir.
I know we have people from Muhammad work here.
Alderman Teague, did you have a?
I was on Quincy's website and I couldn't find it either. I looked at a job.
I found it. They said you have to live within the county,
within the
Adams County.
Chairman, I think Alderman Pickering is.
Yes.
I just also want to make sure we all read Lisa's email that she sent us. And I also talked to Jamie White, and this is what she sent to me in regards to applications. She said, I have gathered information regarding the numbers of applications we received. Please see the following numbers. In 2019, there was 156 applications. That's all the farthest she could go back. 2020, 72, but we're sure that was due to the pandemic. This year, there has only been 80. And she goes on to say, the pandemic plays a large part in the decline last year. However, most qualified applicants are not willing to relocate. I would bet many do not even apply. I do receive calls asking about the residency requirement. I encourage them to still apply and to discuss these concerns with their hiring manager should they be chosen for an interview. I also talked to our chief, fire chief, and our police chief. I was hoping they was here because they told me that they would comment on this too, because they are for increasing the residency. And I also talked to Carl, who said, but if he would like to speak and say anything, I'll let him tell you what he thinks.
Thank you, Alderman Pickering. Yes, she called and asked, and I agree with a 45-mile limit. To be honest with you, as the mayor told you, I've stated personally before that we're all Americans. Why should it matter if you even lived in Alaska or Hawaii? If you were here at 7 o'clock in the morning and every time we called you came, wouldn't matter to me none. We're all Americans. As far as paying, quite personally, when I got out of the service, I didn't join the operators union because I didn't think that I should have to pay anybody to work anywhere. I just don't think that that's fair to anyone to have to pay somebody just to have a job. I don't know whether any of you ladies and gentlemen are veterans, but part of the reason I served in 1979 and took the oath was to uphold the freedoms that we all share. And telling somebody where they have to live and that they have to pay for a job is a freedom that we shouldn't take from anyone. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Carl.
Other
Alderman
comments?
Pickering, did you have anything further?
No, that was all.
Alderman T.
I have a question because one of the things that got brought to my attention regarding the payment piece was that, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but that historically it was put in place because it was making up for the pension contribution that gets lost with not paying taxes here. So my question for you, who are department heads, is what is your response to that? Because I'm very interested, and I thank you all for letting us know how you feel about it, because that was one of the questions I had, and I was planning to email everybody after this meeting. So I'm glad that you're already talking about it. But I want to hear about, especially since you're employees and you live in the city now, and therefore your tax dollars do contribute to your pension. What are your feelings about that piece, that we're losing the pension contribution from employees who don't live here?
Well, number one, Alderman, we also put 4.5% of our own fee in every week for our retirement. I guess to answer part of your other question, I'm trying to think about how I want to state this to make the most sense to everybody. I've already stated that I don't think it's fair to anybody to have to pay, and a couple of you were aldermen probably when this was first brought up, and I'm not going to mention a name, but there was a director that made this all come about, who's no longer here with us, of course, and it's part of what they determined, and they kind of convinced everybody, but that was the right thing to do. There was no true reasoning behind it other than, well, we think you should have to pay because that's fair to me. And they never asked the employees how they felt about it. I don't even know, you'd have to go way back to, what's this, 21, probably 2017 or 16 when that was implemented, to see what the vote was on making everybody pay. I don't think that it was unanimous even back then, if that answers all of the questions that you had. And I know Sam would like to comment as well.
I think, from the fee standpoint, I totally get that it doesn't look good to the public, right, to say that. But given the number of candidates that we have and the importance of positions, and really every position at the city is important. Having the wrong employee in a position will cost us so much more as a city than $600. I mean, that multiplies so far out. One deed saves $600 from the right person. And the amount of time management spends dealing with people that aren't the right people is significant too. So I think that the value that the right people bring to the table in attracting other like-minded people and like-performing people and high-quality business and creating an environment where people want to be is worth so much more than $600 to the taxpayers, whether or not it feels like it at times. So
the $600 fee is already dead, isn't it? We voted that out at the last city council meeting. Why is that? And it's not in this ordinance at all. So I don't know why we even have to bother with that. It's still, as far as the mileage is out there. I'd be curious. One of the reasons we delayed it is to let the public have more chance to tell us what they thought about it. Has anybody gotten public questions about this? I received none.
I did. I received one.
One. Yeah. We keep thinking there's a big public outcry, and I think they're not really vested too strongly one way or another in this. I think they can see times are different. When this was set in, everybody was much more neighborhood oriented, and times have changed with the way things come and go with traffic and doing work at home. And, it's not what it was 20 years ago. And I was in favor of some kind of residency requirement. I see now there's just, why are we doing? We're just making it difficult for the city, and we should make it easier for the city to attract good people.
Just need to do something to make the city of Danville more enticing for people to live in.
Man, I agree with that.
What I would say is I think that you guys are doing that every day and that our team is out there killing themselves to make that happen. I think we're not at all where we need to be. I'm not Pollyanna. I think for me to only tout the good and not say anything about the bad would be wrong, because it's not an accurate picture of who we are and where we are. But I think, thankfully for us, that our good far outweighs the bad by a lot. But we still are not where we need to be. And that's why it's important that we all make the best decisions, not only to steward money, but people. You know, you guys, for those of you who have served on the council with me for a while, think about all the good people we've lost in the past because of how they were treated. You know, we can't afford to have those kind of mistakes. And we also, I think, can't afford to have small barriers that really don't amount to much. I mean, I think maybe we had $18,000 or $20,000 in revenues that we collected from this. Is that really worth losing the best people possible? I don't like it at all. If you had talked to Alderman Williams, especially 10 years ago, I would have said, no way on earth, but you've got to be willing to learn and grow. And if you aren't, then you shouldn't. It's hard. The reason that I even brought up the 600 vice mayor is only because I know some people still had questions about that. And I even heard one or two people say, well, the only way I'm going to expand the residency is if we put that back in there. So I just wanted to be sure that we looked at everything. I think the most important thing is the 45 miles, but I absolutely, as much as I hate it, just also think that we shouldn't have no fee either.
And this says that, the way it's written here now, there is no fee.
That's correct.
May I ask a question? Because it's not addressed in the ordinance I'm looking at here. There was talk about still making sure they lived in the state of Illinois, but that's not addressed in here. I mean, because I don't care one way or another, but we need to know.
No, as we mentioned last time, for me, that was a purposeful removal because, you know, if you, what do I care if you live in Muhammad or Covington? I mean, as long as you're going to be here, you're going to be dedicated to making the lives of the people that we represent better. That's the thing that matters the most to me personally. Ashlyn and I asked Corporation Counsel to look into it. We thought we were under the impression that maybe that was a requirement of the state or something, and it is not. So that's why we said 45 miles, period.
Thank you.
Those people going home to Indiana can stop at our casino and spend some money on their way home.
Or other places out there that, or maybe they'll do both, and maybe they'll go and have some recreational time. They'll be hungry so that they'll stop at the steakhouse. They'll play some games, and they'll be so tired they'll just want to, you know, get a room for the night. So maybe we can provide a full day experience, right?
Comptroller.
Just to follow up with the question about the pension fee. Yes, the impression was to replace lost pension contributions through real estate tax. I can give you the exact numbers from last year. We set out to collect $9,478.62 among 14 employees, and we currently on average employ about 303. So that's a small sliver of our employee pool that has to contribute, which this isn't a numbers decision, but I would say creates a lot of disgruntled employees. I know 3 of the 14 went straight to mayor and a staff member in my office tries to collect that, which is not an easy job. You know, we contribute over $9 million a year to our pensions. That's 0.1% of our pension contribution to create bad will among a small amount of employees. So just in case you were curious about the numbers, that's them.
Other comments, questions? So this will go to the full council next week?
Yes, sir. It was tabled until that time. And I apologize. The only reason I put it out quickly is because we have a couple of unions that were going to be voting on their contracts. And I wanted to make sure that we were able to offer our union personnel the same thing that we offer the non-union. You know, for those of you who have been around a while, again, in the past, we were always told, oh, there's no difference and we don't care. It doesn't matter how you treat non-union versus union. And yes, it does. What we offer our non-union impacts what we offer our union personnel. And quite frankly, I think they ought to be as equitable as possible in terms of what we're offering everyone.
Well, at least I think from last week's full council meeting, we've had a chance to hear from people whether we asked them, they inquired from us about this. And like I said, I didn't have any calls. These are just, like I said in the beginning, these are things from the past that I know that have been said. And that's why I would just like to say, you know, it's not all just because they want to be in a different town. And I think it's a lot of issue. Even today, if we look at some issues going on with our school district, it's, some of that is the race relation is still a big problem in this community. And that's why I stated that. I'm not for the full 45 miles. I think we did this a couple of years ago. I think I said 20 miles. I still think 45 is a little bit. I never was for the residency fee. I was never for that, but I just wanted to state so that at least the committee will know where I was coming from with this. I still think 45 is a little bit, but because we are a small town, you take large areas. When I lived in Chicago, worked there, I probably traveled 60 miles, it felt like, because I lived on the south side and I worked way west. So, and it took me a long time. I had to get, I rode to work, but coming home in the evening, it took me about an hour and a half to get home. Yeah, so in the cities, you see this, but in our town, that's why I said I can't see. It's a little bit, but
Chairman, I think.
Yeah, who's- Oh,
Alderman
there I
Ludwig.
just.
Alderman Ludwig.
Thank you. Just for purposes of clarification, according to the amendment, why are division department heads still required to live within 5 miles and not 45 miles? Just wondering if this is contradictory to the purpose of the amendment?
Alderman Ludwig, that's a
Yeah, I think
very
you talked about
astute
that last
question.
week.
It's one that I've thought a lot about. It's one that I've had conversations with some of my team about. I think lately we've seen with the school board, with the school and the superintendents, you know, they reinstated the requirement to live in town, not because Superintendent Geddes doesn't live here, but there are some that don't. And you heard a lot of outcry from people about these people are making all this money and they don't even live in our area, you know? And so I think that's some of, at least for me, the feedback that I've received from folks is that having folks who are in charge and who are making the big money live elsewhere looks bad for the community. The other thing is like you sometimes, if there are big, really bad emergencies, you need those people to be here a little bit faster. I can't say that I would love it, but I don't fully oppose allowing department heads to have a greater mileage. But I mean, the concerns are primarily, constituent concerns, and why are all these people who are making all this money not living here or near here or being a part of the community? Number one, and then number two, if there is an urgent or emergency issue, and they need to, respond quickly, an hour for that person to be here might be a little bit more challenging. But it's something that certainly could be discussed. That's in the amendment. It could be changed.
Corporation Counsel.
I obviously am a department head legal, and I moved here to Danville, in Danville, the day after I completed my probation. And I felt my original question when I applied for the job is, can I stay in Champaign? And the mayor indicated to me, no. If our money's good enough for you, so is our town. I felt it important, though, as I thought more and more about it before I accepted the position, that as a department head, I need to feel a sense of connection with what I'm heading, the people I'm working with, obviously the people in this area, instead of coming in here, doing my thing, as they say, and fleeing to some other location. And I'll be honest with you, I'm glad I'm here, but I'm a different story than others. Yes, I'm higher paid and all, but I have city legal assistants who don't live in the city. Our new corporation, our assistant corporation counsel lives in Longview, and she was hoping that this ordinance would pass because she said she wouldn't move here and accept the job here because she doesn't want to give up her house. Happens to be her mother's house, and she passed away in January. So a lot of people have reasons for doing what they want. I think the bottom line that you all have to consider is what is best for the city of Danville. Is $600 and 5 miles best, or is increasing the potential pool for hiring the best you can get? You have to remember, even when you include Champaign, Urbana, Mahomet, and wherever else 45 miles takes you, it's still a relatively small population pool. There aren't a lot of big towns in east central Illinois, and we're competing with all the little towns as well as the Champagnes and Urbanas and Mahomets around here. So you have to, that's really, as I see it, the decision that really needs to be considered.
With you saying that, Mr. Simon, how do we know we're getting the best? Just, you said we may not get the best because maybe, like you said, your assistant, maybe she wants to stay for whatever reason over wherever she lives. But I'm not saying anything against that person. I'm just using this as an example. Please understand.
Yeah.
But there could be some other applicants could be just as well. I'm saying when we say the best, it's like we're missing out all the way through on the best just because of this mile radius.
I think, and this really, I think to toss it back to you, Alderperson, if you honestly think, and I do think, and I know the mayor thinks, that we have some of the top people in all of our positions, they're high quality, professional, hardworking people. They were not screened when they were hired because they live in a certain area of Danville, 5 miles, or some other distance. They were hired because the people who are doing the hiring in HR, department heads, division heads, really care about the city, and they interview hard. I can tell you, I forget how many people were there for my interview, but I think it was 8 or 9. And they were firing questions on everything they could think of at me. And I guess I answered okay, because I'm here and all. It's the people you have here that make the difference. And they have a sense, I hope, and it appears to be so, given who's here. They have a sense who they think will do the job. Are they going to be 100? Are we going to be 100% accurate? No, nobody is. We're judging personalities. We're doing an interview. We're looking at credentials and all the different things we are able to do. But sometimes it's just a sense. Is this person going to do the job? They may not have the exact high school or college diploma, but are they going to do the job? Are they going to learn? Are they going to grow? And are they committed to the work? And we all make that assessment.
Sure, and I Danville, hey, it's why I'm still here in Danville. I love this city and I appreciate the staff. But what I'm trying to get at, though, yes, they make good decisions and they may interview hard, but that still doesn't mean we're going to be hiring the best. I mean, they what they think is the best, it still could be someone. What I'm trying to get at, this comparing that to the 45-mile radius. Just because someone wants to live between 45-mile radius doesn't make them the best employee, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, but what it does is it does at least make an effort to increase the pool of people who apply. So instead of having nobody apply or one person apply, you may have 3, 4, 5 or more people apply. The other phenomenon that is hitting this country, all over the country, is there was I think it was the Labor Department released a figure today or yesterday. Over 20 million people have decided, for whatever reason, to leave the workforce. These are not people who are older and at retirement age. These are people all up and down the spectrum. They are not wealthy people necessarily who manage to save enough money to retire on early because of the kinds of jobs they are in tech or whatever it is they do. This is people of all spectrums. So we are facing that. It's an unheard of phenomenon in this country. It's never happened like this before in this country, where people have just decided, I don't want to work anymore. And some of it is they just want to take a year, 2, 3 years off to reorder their life and figure out, what do I want to do with the next phase of my life? A lot of these people have just left the workforce and they have no desire to come back. I don't know why. The Labor Department doesn't know why. It's anecdotal. And so we're dealing with that. So the more people we can attract, the better opportunity we will have to try and select from at least a little bit of a pool than no pool or one person.
Thank you for your explanation.
Thank you for your question.
Carpenter.
I would like to add a little bit to that too. What the director said is that some of you on the council may be a little bit on the outside of the baby boom age, and some like me were right at the very end towards it. And this was relayed to us when we all went to the IPSI school in Effingham several years ago. Is the baby boomers age, we all know, was the highest population output that the United States has ever had. Once the baby boomers die or retire, there are not enough eligible employees to fill the baby boomer shoes. So if we're going to stay competitive, we can't stay in Danville when we all know we have more of a geriatric age in this town than we have a young age.
Well,
That's just proof.
yourself.
Well, I am, Mike. I'm at that age, see. I'm an AARP member. And I'm not a new AARP member either, okay?
Yeah.
It's a proven fact that is part of the reason we have to increase our area as well, is there are not as many people to choose from as, there were when we were growing up and we entered the workforce. If you get 3 applicants, then you better find one decent one out of it, because there aren't going to be any more applicants, and it's only going to get worse in the next 10 years. Actually, 5 years from now, all the baby boomers are eligible for retirement. So
Well, I'm not yet, so.
I said eligible. I didn't say retired.
Okay.
Alderman Lovely.
I'm wondering if in the 5th whereas, it needs to express that there's a 5-mile requirement still that must remain for the division department heads. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I think I've received clarification. Thank you.
What?
I didn't know we had a limit.
I need to get a new timer. Is that what
Yes, that is we can, if it's not, we can make it be.
Thank Tegan.
Alderman Tate.
I just wanted to say that I feel like some of what we're seeing is not just related to, and this is kind of echoing the statement that Director Carpenter made, is not just related to the residency requirement specifically, because we know employers in our area who don't have a residency requirement are also having problems hiring people. And many of them, if you just look around at the lay of the land and you see all of the bonuses and things that people are putting out there to try to get workers in the door and still not getting anybody, I think it's indicative of the times. And as Council Simon said, there are people who are just opting not to work. So I think that we're seeing that, what is indicative of what's happening in the greater pool at large.
Absolutely.
Don't see anyone else. Anybody else? Okay. We'll vote on that next week. Item 13, closed session. There is no need for closed session. Item number 14, items of information. Anybody?
I'd just like to mention Thursday night of this week at 6 p.m. at Holiday Hills Neighborhood Association will be our last meeting of this year. We close down for the winter months, and Mayor Williams will be our guest speaker. And if anyone would like to come out and back and support our neighborhood associations, we'd appreciate it. We're having chili from Wendy's And my wife and another lady's fixing sandwiches. We have a coffee, tea, and water for drinks, and always a dessert. So if you can come out at 6 p.m., it's at the it's at the community church at the corner of Bowman and Holiday Drive. There's one that's got the big arch on it right there on Bowman.
Yep.
We'll have plenty of food.
Okay. There's a breakfast for elected officials on Saturday at the Fire Station 3, right?
8
8
o'clock.
o'clock.
8 o'clock, yes.
And then there's also the county's having a recycling event this Saturday
Yes, that's right.
from
That-
9 to 11, I believe, at DAC.
I believe he said that person that spoke here said if you come at before 9, it would be good because they'll probably be.
Yeah. They'll take up to 7 items. I believe.
Right. So if you come before 9 would be good, so, because the line's so long.
Also, just wanted to note, Chairman, you all probably saw it as you came in, but the picture of our plaintiffs along with the proclamation are there. So we appreciate Jason for helping us get that put up today, and also Mr. Rush for putting the name placard on there to make sure everyone knows who's who.
Good. Good. Comptroller.
Not very often I have an announcement. But next
Comptroller, your microphone isn't working. I'm sorry.
I work with computers all day, but can't manage these mics for anything. Next Thursday is the Danville Kiwanis 71st Annual Pancake Day. We are back at the arena. If you are interested in tickets, let me know and I can give you the hookup. But it is our 71st Pancake Day. So super excited about that. We're open basically all day. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, doesn't matter. We're going to have takeaway boxes at the arena next Thursday, the 21st. So.
No. Okay. See no one else having satisfied the agenda. Motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
I can't remember. But I was talking to a lady who's thinking this hat and how they, get situated with business.